What's up, Panthers Nation? I'm here back again with another Panthers video, and today we have a ton of stuff to cover because it seems like the bottom just fell out on news. Like, there's a lot of different stuff going on. Like I said, this offseason is going to be crazy, and I keep telling you guys, every day things are going to change. So today we got another one of those episodes where we're compiling a bunch of topics into it. Today we're going to talk about Matt Rhule and Scott Fitterer talking to the media. We're going to talk about some salary cap numbers that just came out and talk about some players on the team that restructured their contract in order to give the Panthers a lot more space and what the Panthers just might do with that extra cap space. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. And this channel, I start off every video by saying, "What up, dude?" And here I give recap and analysis of the NFL in particular. Show a little extra love to the Carolina Panthers. So if you want to see more videos and stay up to date on everything that's going on with Carolina, you got to hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell icon. That way you get a notification every time I drop a video. And give the video a thumbs up too. If you want to support the channel, you can go ahead, check in the description and buy me a beer. Shout out to Alex Fankill for buying me a couple beers. Always showing love. Keep pounding to you. If you show a little love and buy me a beer, I'll shout you out in the next video. So I appreciate the love, and it really helps me keep going. It's really motivating me to have you guys engaging and watching this stuff. And I do this for y'all, and I do it for me too, just because I like making these videos. So it's all community, man, and it's all love. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the news that came out that Christian McCaffrey and Shaq Thompson both restructured their contracts in order to give the Carolina Panthers a little bit more cap space this year. Now, the way that this works, if you've been watching this channel, when I dropped the off-season video, I told you guys exactly what was going to happen. And I said this: it doesn't involve cutting anybody, but you're going to go to Shaq Thompson and tell him, hey, we know you signed this big boy deal this past offseason, and we're happy to have you here as part of our future, but we need you to do the right thing and restructure your contract. We need to move some money around. That way we can save some money and bring in some more players to continue to grow, since you're going to be here with the future to help you be successful. The bright side is it looks like Scott Fitterer has been watching some of my videos, so he's been making a lot of the moves that I advised him to do it before he became the general manager. So it seems like we're making the right moves to make some cap space. However, the thing about this is Scott Fitterer was saying a lot today that he doesn't like to do these things where you have to restructure deals, because the way it works is a player has base salaries, they have bonuses, and they have incentives. The incentives are based on if they get certain stats, or if the team does a certain has a certain level of success, or if they make a Pro Bowl or we make a Super Bowl, whatever. But only a certain number of that counts against the cap. If you allowed the team to restructure your deal, you give a lot of that money as a signing bonus, and you move some of that guaranteed money that counts against the cap down the line to later on in the deal. Teams do not like to do this, because if you move more guaranteed money to the back end of the deal, if you ever want to cut or get rid of them, there's a lot more dead money on the books that you have to actually pay them, even though they're not on the team. So if you, for example, if you look at Cam Newton's contract, the fact that his last year, he only had $2 million of dead money had we cut him, that was the reason why they wanted to get rid of him. Teams like to have that flexibility to be able to get out of deals at the end if they need to. So having to push that money to the back end, especially with the running back or a guy like Shaq Thompson, who's a linebacker who's still on the up and up, teams like to have flexibility, because we know that running back careers can kind of cave down at the last second when they get into their 30s. So you don't want to have to pay a bunch of money to a running back on the back end, but with the COVID-19 affecting the cap, you have to do what you have to be able to do. However, it's good to be able to have that flexibility, and players, they have to be willing to take that, because that's money that they're kicking down the road. Now, they may get a signing bonus or some extra cash now, so it's a good bonus to them. They're not doing charity work for the team. They're getting paid still, but it's good that these players are open to be able to do that, and I already called that Shaq Thompson move, and so it's good to see that it worked out that way. And as you remember, Shaq Thompson unfollowed the team on Instagram, but today he tweeted out #keep pounding. And once you get a good check, a little extra money that you weren't expecting to get, I'd be happy too. I'd be following back my team and tweeting out keep pounding also. So good to see Shaq Thompson is back in the great space as far as the head space in relation to the team. But last point is that Scott Fitterer, in his press conference, he also acknowledged that there were other players. I know we've heard about Matt Paradise, Christian McCaffrey, and Shaq Thompson restructuring, but he's also mentioned other players. Who that may be, we don't know, because they didn't release that to the public. However, it just shows me that they're trying to make moves and make the best out of the situation now, because we know that the cap space has been reduced. The next thing we're going to talk about is Matt Rhule's press conference today, and it just covered a lot of different issues. There were questions from Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, Teddy Bridgewater. There was a lot of stuff. But we're going to talk about some of the key points that he made. So the first thing that he wanted to address was that not everything that we've been hearing on Twitter and the internet and the web and all that stuff is true. They just been talking about there's a lot of misinformation out there that they haven't really done a good job of trying to fight. However, they've said that some of the stuff they've seen on Twitter and online have even caught them off guard. My opinion, don't believe anything that you see on the internet. Don't believe anything Matt Rhule says. You know, he can be very conflicting in some of his words and actions that they do. So don't believe anything you hear and just take it with a grain of salt. It's always cool and fun to talk about it, but don't believe anything. Matt Rhule was also questioned about the status of Teddy Bridgewater on this team, and he pretty much said that Teddy's our guy. Nothing has changed since the end of the offseason, and I know you heard rumors, but Teddy is our guy. He said he wouldn't look too much into Teddy unfollowing the team on Instagram and stuff like that because Matt Rhule said that Teddy is still following him, so he still feels pretty comfortable about their relationship. He said he's talked to Teddy about life. He really talked about Teddy about how the type of character he was, and they even asked Matt Rhule about how would Teddy feel in regards to them bringing in a young quarterback and him having to be a mentor. And they just talked about how good of a pro, how good of a person Teddy was. So they feel like he could be able to take that type of criticism or that type of heat if you bring in some competition. Now, what this says to me is that they know that Teddy's such a good guy, they can do anything. So they're not going to discount any of these rumors that's swirling around, anything that has about Teddy being traded or them bringing in a new quarterback to replace him. They're not going to try to make Teddy feel better about that because they know that Teddy's not going to do anything but just take it because he's such a good guy. A different type of player, like a Cam Newton or any kind of bigger personality player, might speak up and speak out and say something about this stuff, and it makes the coaches and the front office very uncomfortable. But they know that Teddy's such a good guy and he has that image to uphold that he's not going to lash out and say anything. The worst thing you're going to get from Teddy Bridgewater is him unfollowing the team on Instagram, and that's all he did. So that team really has no fear and rubbing Teddy the wrong way. The other thing that I pretty much noticed with Matt Rhule is that it sounds like Curtis Samuel may just be gone. They asked him about the status of possibly trying to re-sign Curtis. Matt Rhule really put a lot of pressure and blaming on the salary cap, the fact that they would love to have conversation with him. He loves Curtis. He wanted Curtis back. Will it work out? He doesn't know. But with the fact that Curtis is going to reach the open market, he wasn't franchise tagged, obviously. So they're going to want to do him, but it just depends. How much money is there to spend out there? How much money do they want to allocate to other positions? And how much money is Curtis Samuel actually going to want? Because this is Curtis Samuel's first time hitting free agency. He's going to want to secure that bag. And do the Panthers go at Curtis Samuel with a quality deal enough for him to want to come back? Who knows? But with Curtis hitting the open market and being a very desirable piece as a quality number 2 wide receiver and versatile weapon in anybody's offense, it's going to be hard, and it's tough for me to say this because I've been the main one all offseason beating the table for Curtis Samuel to be back. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I've been doing that. I even brought the film breakdown of why Curtis needs to be brought back. So it's going to be tough for me to see him go because I feel like he potentially will go to a great team and will completely make the Panthers look stupid for not bringing him back, because once you properly use him like the way that he should be, the sky is the limit for this guy because he's versatile in the pass game and the run game. They also discussed the tight end position because Chris Manhurst is a free agent, and they asked was there any kind of desire to upgrade the position. Matt Rhule pretty much said what I've been saying. He said they like the group. He liked what Manhurst is as a blocker, but they will be looking in free agency in the draft, obviously, to compete and get better. Ian Thomas, he said he has confidence in Ian Thomas will get better, but that tells me that they're going to draft somebody. He also mentioned that there's no need to really go high for a tight end in the draft. He didn't say that directly, but he said that if you look at the top tight ends in the draft, then most of those guys are 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks all over. So you just got to find the right guy and put him in the right system. Pretty much what I've been saying. There's no point in drafting a guy like Kyle Pitts at number 8 because, granted, he's a great talent. He's basically another wide receiver. But you can find quality tight ends later, and you can address bigger needs with that number 8 pick. And last but not least, the thing that I noticed Matt Rhule say that they're putting a lot of emphasis that offensive line and cornerback is the 2 key positions they're going to look into address. They asked him what positions. He specifically pointed out those. Of course, he put in the coach's talk of we're going to always look to get better at every position, but he specifically signaled out cornerback and offensive line. So pay attention to that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Scott Fitterer's press conference. They both Him and Matt Rhule had press conferences today on separate occasions, and Scott Fitterer had a lot of interesting things to say. A lot of the stuff he just echoed Matt Rhule, but the one key thing, like I just told you guys, he emphasized wanting to get better at the offensive line and the cornerback position. And doing that, he talked about free agency and the salary cap. He talked about how being able to franchise tag Taylor Moton is really going to put a hamper on the salary cap space because we are in better position than a lot of teams since there's 10 teams in the NFL right now that are over the salary cap. However, we don't have a ton of money to just splurge. He also said that the first wave that there's going to be a lot of money thrown around to some big name guys, but with the salary cap being so tough, there's going to be a lot of good players that get cut and they're going to be available. There's going to be a lot of players that are going to be looking for big money in the free agency, but once the dust settles and all the action that happens early on in free agency, there's going to be some quality players there. So he said that if you remain patient, you can get some good value from the guys that wanted a big check, but realize that reality is starting to set in that they may not be able to get as much money as they once thought because of that salary cap. So it seems like they want to be very targeted and choosy in their choices on who they're going to bring in with the money that they do spend. Now, with them clearing out this cap space and restructuring stuff, I want to know, are they going to be setting up for a big time move? And big time move to me, obviously the Panthers are going to be big players when it comes to like some of these other teams like the Browns or the Patriots or whatever who have a ton of cap. But for me, a guy like Hassan Riddick, who didn't get franchised by the Cardinals, who has a Temple background, who's a quality pass rusher that had a breakout year last year, put him on the opposite side of Brian Burns. That could be our big splash play that we get this offseason. So I would be curious to see if that is the case. But I thought it was very interesting to see what his deal was and strategy and approach to this offseason. Is because he said that in free agency, they're going to be looking to address as many needs as possible. As many needs as possible. That way, when they get to the draft, they don't feel like they're desperate to make certain moves. They're going to be able to draft the best player available, which is a good strategy. But I still wholeheartedly believe that if the opportunity is there, they will trade up in the draft to get a quarterback. Now, worst case scenario, do we sit where we are and draft a quality offensive lineman because they've been putting so much emphasis on offensive line and cornerback and saying that we need that position? Who knows? There's a lot of quality offensive linemen in this draft, and Scott Fitterer also said that too. So you can find quality depth later in the draft. So, like he said, try to address all the needs with the money that you can in free agency, and then draft the best player available. That way you don't come off desperate and do moves that hamper you going into the future. Now, this could all go out the window if we make a trade for Deshaun Watson, which seems unlikely at this point. And it could all go out the window also if we trade up for a quarterback into the draft to get into that top 3, top 4 to get the quarterback that we may need, whether it's Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. And the last key point from Scott Fitterer's press conference is the fact that they asked him about Teddy Bridgewater. And he talked about all the misinformation that was out there too regarding Teddy. But he did say that they had a conversation with Teddy and did confirm to him that they were actually involved and they did make that offer for Matt Stafford. He didn't really go into anything else as far as anybody else, even though he was asked about Russell Wilson because he can't really talk about certain players. But he did acknowledge that they did offer, and there was a true offer that went out there for Matt Stafford, and that Matt Stafford could have easily been a Panther had the Rams not swooped in and made that deal happen. So you gotta appreciate them being transparent on that part with the fans and with Teddy from that point. Scott Fitterer seems to be taking a little bit of a different approach than Matt Rhule when it comes to telling the truth. But this is only Scott Fitterer's second press conference, so there's plenty of time for him to BS us as fans and in the media with what's going on. So obviously, with next week with free agency starting, that'll be the telltale as far as what they're trying to put the rubber to the road as far as putting your money where your mouth is in regards to actually making the moves that you say you were going to make. So we'll see what Scott Fitterer does. But it's going to be crazy, man. Whatever you hear, only believe 10% of it. Whatever you see on the internet, only believe 10% of it. Watch for these moves to be made. I do pray and hope that I would love for us to be involved in some of these big-time deals and get some big-time players and talent in here. But like Dave Gettleman used to say, we're going to be shopping at the Dollar Tree probably this year. Also, trying to get value and to get the most bang for our buck. And then hopefully have a great draft that's calculated, precise, have a plan, and execute it. But you guys let me know down below in the comments how you felt about these press conferences or anything else that we talked about in this video. Did anything stick out to you? And what do you think will be the biggest surprise for this offseason for us? Let me know down below in the comments. But without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan signing off with the Necessary Blunt Sports Talk. I'll see you next time. Peace.